Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levi, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Japan, OSB versus Okami. And Shaq, we got a card on a Friday night this time, man.
Yeah, man, it's a really good card. It sucks that Shogun had to pull out, but Okami is a decent replacement, and I'm expecting a show in that fight.
It's funny because he's going from 170 pounds, which he fought his last 4 or 5 fights, to 205 pounds. He's not just moving up one weight class, Shaq. He's moving up two weight classes, and it could be detrimental, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is a former middleweight, and he's lost a lot of size since that USADA testing came in. I don't know if they've been testing in the promotions that he's been fighting in since he got cut from the UFC, but I mean, hey, he's gone 4-2 since he's been out. Only losses are to Dave Branch and Fitch, so I guess it's respectable. But let's see what he does Friday.
And don't ask me how he won that Paul Bradley fight because I thought he lost every round. But that's neither here nor there. And real quick, we got to address last week. And, things didn't go according to plan. This is a long-term game, and we took an L. It's funny because with Sago and Burns, I was thinking, look, if Burns is going to win the fight, he'll win a decision. But he went out there and he knocked out Sago. I didn't see that coming from a mile away. I don't even think people that bet on Burns saw that coming. So props to Gilbert Burns, man. You know what I'm saying? He kept his job.
Yeah, props to him, man. I kind of had a bad feeling about it the closer towards the fight, just because fading Gilbert Burns long term is a good idea, but maybe it was just the wrong guy. To beat Gilbert Burns, he has to be scared of something, and Sago just didn't have anything to scare him. So props to Burns, and I mean, it was only a 2.5 unit loss, and we always bounce back after L's, man.
And that's what we're about to do right here, right now, on Half the Battle, because we got Luke Jumo. He's minus 245. The comeback on Shinsho Anzai is plus 205. Now, Shaq, it's been about 2 years since we've seen Shinsho Anzai fight, and it's funny because the first time we saw him, he goes out there against Alberto Mina, and I mean, they went life and death. It was a straight-up brawl. Shinsho got knocked out in the first round, so then his second fight comes around against Zapata, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be a serious brawl, and he took a different approach that time. He tried to use takedowns to win the fight. So we've seen two different sides to Shinsho Anzai. But now he's taking on the very young and confident Luke Jumo. How do you see this one going down?
I really like Jumo in this spot. Anzai, like you mentioned, the Alberto Mina fight, that approach is just really not stupid, but I mean, it was definitely questionable, just running at him with their chin up in the air and, getting clipped with shots, and you keep rushing in forward. And then, his next fight, he fought a guy that hadn't fought in almost 3 years, who was 4-1, and we already know that guy Zapata's history on tough. With the Ian Stevens fight, and then the Diego Lima fight.
Hey, tell them the history, because I don't think they know.
I mean, Zapata basically got laid on for 3 rounds against Ian Stevens on tough, the season that Diego Lima was on, and somehow the judges scored it for him, even though, he was working from bottom a lot and Stevens was just laying praying. But the guy hasn't fought anyone near Luke Jumo's level in the UFC, and he hasn't fought in 2 years. And I really like Jumo in this spot because, in his debut against Dom Steele, a guy who's gone 3 rounds with Court McGee, gone, life and death with Danny Hot Chocolate in a fight of the night performance, who's got better wrestling than Anzai. He stuffed the takedowns. He showed great poise. He picked his shots very well. And, he hurt Steele about 2 or 3 times and completely shut him down. And I like him in the spot. I mean, like we said, Anzai hasn't fought in 2 years. I think his game is going to get completely shut down. I think he's going to tire himself out shooting for takedowns that he's not going to get, and he's going to get busted up on the feet en route to a finish. And I like Jumo a lot in this spot. I got it at minus 230. I got 5 units on it, parlayed with somebody else later, and I'm very confident.
Wow, so Shaq has a max bet on the first fight of the night.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be good, man. I like Luke Jumo here as well. He's a very young, confident fighter. He's very composed out there. I was super impressed with that UFC debut. He goes out there against Dom Steele, who's a very experienced guy. And the first round, Luke Jumo got taken down. Now, when you get taken down in the first round of your UFC debut, some guys might freak out. They might get tapped out. Shit might go wrong. With him, he stayed composed. He worked his way back up to his feet, and he picked Dom Steele apart. And I don't believe Dom Steele got another takedown ever again in that fight. And
he did not.
And that's just credit to Luke Jumeau, his balance, his composure, and he went out there and did what he was supposed to do. Now, I'm trying to figure out what kind of striking style he has because I see little glimpses of karate in there. I see a little bit of boxing in there. But whatever it is, it's working. And I think it's going to work here, man. I think that Shinsho, he's only showing up because this is UFC Japan. If UFC was anywhere else this weekend, Shinsho would not be fighting. But, he's got to fight once every 5 years, pay the bills. And he's going to come in here, get half of his purse, as you know the deal, because you only get your show money if you lose the fight. And I think Luke Jumeau is going to go out there. I'm not sure if it's a knockout or a decision, but I do have Luke Jumeau for the victory, and I put him in a 1.5 unit parlay. So let's go, Luke. Now here, the return of Hyung-Yu Lim. He's minus 125. He's taking on the newcomer, Daichi Abe, who's plus 105. Now, on paper, we're thinking Hyung-Yu Lim flying any knockout, but you know something, Shaq? When you get knocked out by Mike Perry, people don't often come back the same, and I'm questioning if Hyung-Yu Lim is going to come back the same, man.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people liking that Hyung-Yu line, and I see a lot of people betting that Daichi Abe line, and I understand both sides because, me personally, I bet on Hyung-Yu Lim against Mike Perry because, when I watched on tape, Perry looked really small in comparison. And, Hyung-Yu got completely punked out at weigh-ins, and we know what happened in that fight. Perry knocked him out stiff in the first round, which he is known for. And, as far as this fight, I kind of see it being similar. I mean, this Daichi Abe guy, I feel like he's a lightweight. I feel like he's too small for the division, at least, moving on in the future. But, I mean, when you bet on either guy, you know what you're getting yourself into. You know that Hyung-Yu, if he gets clipped on the chin, it could be night over. And we know that his cardio isn't the best. In the past, he used to walk through shots. Like, I know you remember that Pascal Kraus fight. I mean, they went straight to war for that one round. And he retired Pascal, but I'm staying away as far as a bet. I understand both sides, but I just think it's too risky for either guy to bet on. I can't trust either guy. I feel like one guy's too small, and I feel like the other guy is secretly aging. I feel like the other guys might be 50 in fight years. Let's not forget about that Tarek Saffiedine fight. Let's not forget about the Neil Magny fight, and let's not forget about the Mike Perry fight. So this guy Daichi can crack, and I'm staying away. But the pick, I'm actually going to go with Daichi in this one.
Dude, I want to meet Pascal Krause's manager because, he probably has the best manager of all time. When you haven't fought in 10 years, but you're still on the video game, you're still at the athlete retreat, what is it about Pascal Krause, man?
I guess they need a representative from Germany because when I saw him at the athlete retreat, I was like, man, this guy ain't fought since, that was like UFC 164, we've had 50 pay-per-views since then, probably about 100 fight night cards since then. This guy Pascal still kept his spot in the roster, and I can't wait till he comes back because I will be hitting that fade on him.
They couldn't get Dennis Seaver to represent, even though we both know Dennis Seaver was born in Russia and not Germany, but they couldn't use him. They had to get Pascal Krause. You know what I mean? Yeah,
they needed a real German, and we know Dennis is a little weasel.
And it's funny because I don't even think the Russians claim him, man, because he acts like he's German. So,
he's got blonde hair and blue eyes. So, he kind of doesn't really, doesn't represent them well.
As far as this matchup, man, I think for sure it's not going to go the distance. Watch it go the distance now that I just said that. But look, I don't think it's going the distance. I think someone's going to get knocked out. I really don't know who because I'm not sure how Hyung-Yu Lim's going to come back. It's not just the Mike Perry fight, man. Neil Magny pounded him out right before that as well. But the Mike Perry fight, when you get knocked out 3 times in one fight, it's just, and now you're fighting a knockout artist in Daichi Abe, and this kid slugs. It's just he's a 55er like you mentioned, so there will be a size difference. I don't know what's going to go down. I'm going to go with the newcomer. I'm going to go with Daichi Abe by knockout, but I really don't know. I just think it's not going to go the distance. Now this one's very interesting because we got Jussier, the Fire Ant Formiga. He's minus 450. The comeback on Oka Sasaki is plus 360. Now, Shaq, I see a lot of people wanting to take this shot on Sasaki just because he choked out Scoggins last time. Now, look, on paper, yes, he does have a win over Scoggins, but if you watch that fight and how it actually went down, he got dropped 3 times by Scoggins. He got taken down more than once. It was just a case where Scoggins did what Scoggins does. He whoops your ass, and then he kamikaze dives head first straight into a choke. This time he gave up his back and got rear naked choke, so it was a little bit different. It wasn't a guillotine, which he's known for diving into. But at the same time, it was the same shit he's known for, which he's done more than once. It wasn't like Oka Sasaki had the performance of his career. That being said, Oka Sasaki is a very tall flyweight, and I like the fact that in that Wilson Hayes fight, he was kind of going out there like Nick Diaz, putting his hands up in the air, being like, "What's up, motherfucker?" Because in the past, I kind of felt like Sasaki got into the UFC too early, because you saw those fights against Lapalus, against Leandro Issa, you know what I mean? They straight broke him. He just wasn't ready at the time, but now I think he's maturing. That being said, he gave up a lot of openings for the back take against Scoggins, and we know the best back taker in the UFC flyweight division, besides Ray Borg, is Jussier Formiga. So I see those openings being there for Formiga, and I see Formiga taking a decision. I understand why people want to take the shot on Sasaki because of what he did last time, but that was last time, this is this time, and even though Formiga is an aging competitor out of Novo União, I still think he has enough to get the decision here, Shaq.
Yeah, for sure. Initially, remember me and you were talking, and I wanted to take that shot on Sasaki, man. I kind of bought into the little hype train that he's kind of on right now. But when I watched that tape, man, I had to pass because, Formiga, even though I feel like he's declining, and we already know the deal with those Nova and Yao guys, they're all, moving away. They're all kind of on the decline right now. Henan, Jussier, Jose. The only one that's kind of relevant in that gym right now is Nantes and Kevin Vieira, and everyone else is just on the decline. But Sasaki, man, he's too wild, man. He's kind of all over the place. I like his heart. I like his spirit. I think he's a tough kid. I think he's gonna keep his spot in the company. But I just see too many openings for Formiga. I think Formiga can get easy takedowns, kill the clock with top control, and just won a nice little 30-27 on two cards, a 29-28 maybe. But hey, if Sasaki can rise to the occasion again, props to him. I don't think he will. But, I feel like the line's a little bit off, but then at the same time I don't, because I feel like Formiga's just clearly the better fighter. But I wish everyone well. That's Sasaki, man. I like the kid, but this isn't a business about liking people, and I feel like some people fall into the trap of that.
You're 100% correct. And this next fight is a perfect example of that because we got Alex Morano. He's minus 140. The comeback on Keitaro Nakamura is plus 120. And when you talk about falling into the trap of being a fan of someone, how can you not be a fan of Keitaro Nakamura? I mean, what a badass, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Keitaro, this guy, I look at the line right now, it's plus 120. And, as we were talking before, we were thinking about betting Keitaro because anytime you get a guy like Keitaro at dog money, there's value on it. I mean, remember the Kyle Noak fight? Remember when this guy was plus 1,000 versus Tom Breeze and he almost won a split decision, in which he won, in my opinion.
Li Jingliang.
Exactly. I mean, the Zaleski fight, even though he lost that fight, I mean, him and Zaleski went tooth and nail, and we already know what type of guy Zaleski is. And anytime you get dog money on this guy, you almost feel obligated to take it, but, I am passing because when I watched that tape on Morono, I mean, this kid Morono's legit, man. His fight against Muntashri, I know Muntashi's an old Taekwondo weasel, and he's old and he's retired now, but I feel like he beat him exactly the way you're supposed to beat him, completely break him, you know what I'm saying? And in his last fight against Price, it's unfortunate. Those things happen sometimes. It's a fight game. He had to take that first L. He was whooping up on Price. He dropped him like 2-3 times in that first round. But man, there's something about that kid Price because he just keeps coming at you, and he got to Morono. I feel like Morono is the better striker. I feel like Keitaro's the better on the mat. I just feel this is a pass fight. I feel like everyone should sit back and enjoy it because I do feel like Morono is slightly better. But I don't blame anyone for taking that shot on Keitaro, man. I mean, anytime you get underdog money on Kita Nakamura, you got value on it. So I definitely understand both sides, but I'm going to go with Morono by decision.
Yeah, no, I completely understand the pick here because Morano is one of these guys that he doesn't look athletic. He looks like he can drop a weight class. People probably think he's a jobber, but he's got a way of pushing this pace on people and breaking guys. And he didn't just break James Muntasiri, he retired James Muntasiri. And it was just nonstop pressure for 15 straight minutes. The first round he started a little bit slow, but when Muntasiri started to tire out in that second and third, Morano put it on him like it was no one's business, and that fight could have arguably been stopped. As far as the Nico Price fight is concerned, like you said, he had to take his first L, and he kind of gassed out a little bit in that fight. I'm sure he's learned from it. I'm sure he's going to come back better. That being said, if he gasses out here again, Keitaro is the kind of guy that'll take your back in that third round and choke you unconscious, like you saw against Li Jingliang when he was what was he, plus 600 or something crazy in that fight? You know what I mean? And
something like that.
And dude, he actually people try to act like Li Jingliang was straight up whooping his ass, and then out of nowhere Nakamura
that's not the case.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Not the case at all.
Out of nowhere Nakamura got the choke, and that's not the case. I believe Nakamura might have even dropped him at one point in that fight, and so yeah, it was a back and forth fight as far as I'm concerned. Nakamura closed the show. The Tom Breeze fight, I thought Nakamura won that fight. The Zaleski fight, look, Zaleski, I'm not going to say too much because I don't want these odds makers listening, but you and I both know how underrated that guy is, and it is what it is. So this fight to me comes down to who can push the harder pace in the later rounds, because these two are going to go to war, and that's the bottom line here. I completely understand the shot on Keitaro, and we were thinking about taking that shot too, because like you said, Shaq, anytime Keitaro is the underdog, there's value, because this guy's going to come to fight no matter what. He's going to fight his ass off, win or lose. But the way the styles match up, there's something about Morano's pressure and his pace that I kind of like in this matchup, and I think it is kind of a bad matchup for Nakamura. So, that being said, I see Morano taking the first two rounds, and I think Nakamura is going to have a Hail Mary submission in the third and get this upset, but it could go either way. I'm going to just take the opposite side as you and go with Nakamura here. Now this one, Charles Rosa, Boston Strong. Shaq, you want to take a guess what the line here is, man?
I see it minus 190.
Dude, so, it's funny because when we were lining it in our head, and I might be talking a little bit of shit because what I'm about to say, I should probably put my money where my mouth is, but do you agree with me when I say this should be a pick'em?
I agree 100%, man. I mean, Charles Rosa, he comes in his UFC debut and, he has a good fight with Seaver, but I mean, what was the outcome of that fight?
30-27 Seaver.
Okay. And then, he comes in, he beats Sean Soriano, and we know what type of guy that kid is. And then, he has a tough fight with Yair, but he lost. And, I didn't agree with the split decision. I felt like Yair clearly won. And then, his fight with Bochniak, it's funny because I almost bet Rosa in that spot, and he arguably he lost in my opinion. He got dropped. I feel like the guy's kind of on the decline. I feel like he's aging, and his last fight with Burgos is very unfortunate because there was a chance that he was up 2 rounds, even though I think it was probably 1-1. There was a chance he was up 2 rounds, and we know what happens when you sit in the pocket with Burgos. We know the outcome of that. And, he got knocked out and, he was questioning the stoppage. And it's unfortunate because, his face, he was like, man, I was up 2 rounds. Like, I had him. And it's unfortunate. And, Pugness, man, his first run in the UFC didn't go well. He's a solid jobber, But his fight with Cole Miller, he beat Cole Miller the way you're supposed to beat Cole Miller. You completely dominate him. You completely get him out of there. You show him up. And, his last fight against Volkanovski, I kind of gained a lot of respect for him because Volkanovski is one of the top prospects at 145. And, I mean, Pugness, even though he got dropped multiple times, I mean, he kept moving forward. He kept, he showed that he had good straight punches. He tagged Volkanovski a couple times, but we just know that Volkanovski is too much. And I actually like Pugness in this fight. I'm not going to bet it just because I'm more confident in other things. But I feel like Rosa's on the decline. I feel like he's on his way out. And I feel like Pugness is just slightly improving, man. I feel like at this stage in his career, he's figured out something. And I feel like he's going to win a split decision here, man. I feel like it's going to be close. I know that Rosa tries really hard. He's one of those guys that puts all into this. I know that I compare him to like a TJ Dillashaw, not in skill wise, but you know how TJ tries really hard that, there's always a good chance that he's up on the cards, or because he tries really hard, and I feel like Rosa is one of those guys. But I'm gonna go with Hirota in the upset, man. I feel like he's gonna drop him a couple times with some straight punches, and build that early lead on the card. Then I'm gonna split Japan.
Man, Charles Rosa actually has a future as a chef, man. A lot of people don't know this. People know that he's a chef, but they don't know what caliber chef he is. He's a chef for Michelin-rated restaurants, and for those that don't know what that means, there's 5-star restaurants, and then there's Michelin-rated restaurants. And the Michelin ones, those are that's top of the line. The fact that this guy is a chef for those kind of restaurants, I mean, that just says a lot. He doesn't need to be fighting. He can make 6 figures a year being a chef, cutting nice steak. And in this fight, man, it's interesting because I do think it should be a pick'em. So the Hirota plus 165 does look kind of nice, but Hirota also doesn't really win fights in the UFC. He's 1-4. So I kind of, there's other options, like you said, that I like better. I already have enough on the line that I don't want to take this risk. But, man, I do think Hirota is a live dog here because Charles Rosa isn't that great at anything, man. I mean, his guard's okay. He swings bombs on the feet, but he's really nothing special. And Hirota is just a tough, solid journeyman. I see Hirota getting a 29-28 here. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go down, but I do think he is a live dog with a very good shot, and I say that he gets a hometown decision here. Now, here we go, man. You ready for one of the biggest disappointments we've ever seen in the featherweight division? We got Teruto Ishihara. He's minus 145. The comeback on Rolando Dai is plus 125. Now, Shaq, when you can't beat Gray Maynard in 2017, let me rephrase that. When you can't land a single punch on Gray Maynard in 2017, do you belong on the UFC roster?
It's very unfortunate, man, because, in the lead up to that fight, at first, I was like, of course, man, I'm gonna play Ishihara. I'm gonna play him straight. I'm gonna play him by KO or inside the distance, the under or whatever. But then, the more closer I got to the fight, I just realized that the guy is a single shot fighter. I mean, it's either KO or bust with this guy. And, I'm so glad that I passed on that fight because, one of the key factors was that Gray Maynard can actually wrestle. And, he ain't fighting fucking Horacio Gutierrez or fucking Juicy J. Rosa or these jobbers. He's actually fighting a vet that has a dominant skill. And he completely got outclassed. I mean, that was embarrassing on his part. And now he's coming back against this guy. For all of those that bet Teruto in that fight, I mean, I would honestly be out of the Teruto Ishihara business for the near future. But I do think he wins this fight against Rolando Dai because what's Rolando Dai's record? Like 8-5? And, I put him on that level with, the Horacio Gutierrez, the Juicy J. Roses. And I feel like Ishihara will land that left-hand shot and get this guy out of here. But he will be faded very soon when he gets another formidable opponent. But, I personally wouldn't bet on him because I already know what type of guy this guy is, man. If you push him like we saw in that Pugnas fight, like we saw in the Artem fight, like we saw in the Gray Maynard fight, he will fold, and it's just plain and simple. I don't care if he's training with Clay Guida. I don't care if he's training with Elkins. I don't care if he's living with Cody. The guy's a jobber. He's a solid jobber. He's got a beautiful left hand, but if you push him, he will break. And it's not like the break like a Sarah McMahon quit. It's just the guy will gas out, and he only has 2 strikes. He has a straight left and a left kick, and but I think he'll get past this one. But in the future, be very careful.
I'm completely 100% out of the Teruto Ishihara business. A lot of people know that I bet him big against Gray Maynard in 2017. Now, look, it's one thing to take an L. You know what I mean? You take an L, whatever, no big deal. You come back better. But when you don't land a single punch on Gray Maynard this year, 2017, I want nothing to do with you whatsoever. And like you mentioned, he lives with the champ Cody Garbrandt. He trains with great wrestlers like Elkins. Don't mean shit, you know what I'm saying? It didn't help at all. I'm going to actually go with the newcomer here, Rolando Dai. Even though Teruto is probably the better athlete, he's more talented, he's got a higher ceiling, I don't think the dude wants it. And like you said, it's not like a Sarah McMahon where, arm triangle is not even locked in, and he'll be tapping the mat. It's not like that. It's more like you take him down one time, and then you'll have that. He'll look up at the clock, and he'll stop fighting, and this and that. And you might be right that he can get Rolando Dai out of there because Dai is even more of a jobber. But you know what, man? I'm gonna go with Rolando Dai here, just because I'm so out of the Teruto Ishihara business. It's not even funny, and people are gonna say, "Oh, that's an emotional pick" or whatever. Listen, I'm not putting money on the line, so I don't give a fuck if you think it's an emotional pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's no money on the line, who gives a fuck? So I got Rolando Dai here for the upset. Now here we go, Shaq. You ready? Because this is what we like to refer to as idiot or genius, because we got Gokhan Saki. He's minus 165. He's taking on Henrique Frankenstein da Silva, who's plus 145. Now, Shaq, the reason I say it's idiot or genius is because one of two things is going to happen. Either Gokhan Saki is going to knock out Henrique da Silva, or he's going to get tapped out by Henrique da Silva. So if you're right on the knockout, you look like a genius. If you're wrong and he gets taken down like James Toney and gets tapped out right away, you look like an idiot. So here's my thing, man. They gave him probably one of the top 3 worst light heavyweights on the roster. Someone who just got knocked out in 20 seconds about 3 months ago. But then again, this is MMA, my man. You know what I'm saying? Gokhan Saki is coming from kickboxing. He's one of the best kickboxers on planet Earth. If Henrique da Silva tries to go in there and be cute and test his stand-up against Gokhan Saki, he might not just get knocked out. He might get knocked into the 5th row. You know what I'm saying, dude? But that being said, what about Henrique coming out here, pulling guard, sweeping, getting on top, and just finishing the fight? The thing is, he's not that smart. So, you can't trust him to do that, even though that's what you're supposed to do here. Because Henrique, he doesn't have a double leg. He doesn't have a single leg. But, man, if we can pull guard and sweep, we can get on top of this guy. Look, I saw clips of chick fighters tapping out Gokhan Saki. You know what I'm saying, man? And look, I know there's dudes that just started training jiu-jitsu listening to this. They're like, what's wrong with that? I get tapped out by chicks all the time. And it's like, yeah, but that's not really the point. You're not in the UFC. These guys are in the UFC, okay? And Gokhan Saki's getting tapped out by 135-pound chicks in the gym, man. So, look, man, it's about trying to predict Henrique's strategy. Is Henrique going to try to test his stand-up? If he does, he will get knocked the fuck out. Or is Henrique going to be smart, pull guard, sweep, get on top, and choke him out? I really don't know. But since I think that Henrique's kind of a dumbass, I think he will try to test his stand-up, and I think that Gokhan's going to knock him out. That being said, if Gokhan gets submitted in the first round, do not be surprised. And I would not put any money on this. Gokhan's an 0-1 MMA fighter. You know what I'm saying, Shaq? He's amazing in kickboxing, but this ain't no kickboxing match. That being said, knowing Henrique's fight IQ, he's probably going to try to test his stand-up against the K1 champ, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. And I completely agree with what you said all the way. And it's a hit or miss fight, like you said. Enrique could get a takedown, or he could pull guard, or Saki could touch him up and get him out of here real quick. And it's kind of unfortunate what's happened to Frankenstein da Silva, because remember when he came in to the UFC, he was coming off that complete war with Ildemar Alcantara on the local scene. And, it started off him getting rocked, and, but then he came back and, he completely broke Ildemar. And then, his UFC debut against Jonathan Wilson, who at the time was considered somewhat of a hot prospect. He took an ass whooping early, but then he came back and completely broke him down. And then, he armbarred Christensen, which it wasn't very impressive, but at least he got the win. And then, man, after that, it's sad what's happened. The Paul Craig fight, the complete domination of Jordan Johnson. And then the Jan Kudalaba fight where, he got hit one time and that was it. And, I'm staying away from this fight. I see a lot of Gokhan Saki parlays out there. And, I understand it because when their UFC brings a guy like this in, their plans, even though some things don't go according to plan sometimes, their plan is clearly for him to get a knockout and to have a highlight reel KO and, promote some more glory events or do what, I don't know what their plan is, but that's what I'm assuming it is. But I can't bet on either guy. Like you said, this fight could hit the mat one time and that could be over. Or this kid could get hit in the face one time and that'd be over. But I'm gonna take Saki. I feel like he's gonna get the KO, but it's definitely a pass fight for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But you know what's not a pass fight? We got Dong Hyung, the Maestro Kim. He's minus 380. The comeback on the Fireball kid, Takanori Gomi, the Fireball grandpa, is plus 315. And You know what time of the year it is, man. It's max bet season for you. For me, actually, it's 1 unit below max bet season because you know how I put that 4 unit open parlay with Gregor Gillespie last week, and he came through. So I'm closing out that 4 unit open parlay with Dong Young Kim, and I took him at minus 270. Currently, it's minus 380, which obviously it's gone up $1.10, and rightfully so. Look, this is simply a situation where. Look, Gomi's a legend, much respect, but at this point in his career, remember when Chuck Liddell lost those 3 fights at the end of his career and got knocked out viciously in all 3 of them? Like, you remember that, Shaq? But
Yeah,
but also remember how he kind of looked good in the Rich Franklin fight before he got knocked out? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Well, Gomi is like, he's like way past that point. You know what I'm saying? It's not even to the point where he looks good in his losses. It's to the point where if this fight hits the mat one time, just one time, the fight will be over shortly after. And, if Dong Young Kim tries to go out here and test his stand-up against Takanori Gomi, I think he'll knock out Gomi, you know what I mean? That's going to be a little bit of a scarier path, even though Gomi doesn't have anywhere near the technique, firepower, or just skill that he used to have. He's declined so much, he's clearly showing up for a paycheck. I mean, you saw the way that you saw how he was telegraphing his punches against John Tuck. It was just straight up sad. So, look, I know Dong Young Kim is a jobber. I know he's 1-2 in the UFC, but none of that matters, man. I would pick Brendan O'Reilly over Takanori Gomi at this point. I would pick Jake Lindsay over Takanori Gomi at this point. You know what I'm saying, man? So I would pick any of these jobbers against Takanori Gomi. I'd pick them in the first round, too. I think Dong Young Kim is going to finish him in the first round. Whether it's a takedown to a submission, whether he drops him with a shot, I don't really know. I don't really care. I just know he's going to get him out of there in one. So I put Dong Young Kim in that open parlay with Gregor Gillespie for 4 units. And then I also took the under 1.5 in this fight, and I parlayed it with Luke Jumo for 1.5 units. And, I don't often parlay unders. I mean, I think that's a very square way of betting. But this is one of those occasions where, I'm not going to sit here and quote someone else and say you put everything on it because you don't do that ever. You got to be smart still. But this is one of those situations where when you get to fade Gomi, you take it with full grasp. Look, you remember how we were talking about Mitch Clark and how, we get to fade Mitch Clark once a year? I would bet Mitch Clark over Gomi. You know what I'm saying? Like, Gomi is that done. So, whether it's a submission, whether it's a knockout, I mean, Gomi ain't even seen the 3-minute mark of the first round since he fought Isaac Valley Flag. You know what I'm saying, man? So, I got that easy money on Maestro, and we'll see how easy it is since I'm calling it easy.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And speaking of that Ike Valley Flag fight, I mean, if you go back and look at his physique in that fight and then look at it now, I mean, it's complete night and day. I think that was before the USADA era. And he was actually throwing combos that fight. That was his last win. And, I mean, he was going to complete war with Ike Valley Flag. And Ike Valley Flag, did he keep his spot in the company?
Nope.
Okay. Did Iji Matsuoka keep his spot in the company?
Nope.
All right, then. So, I mean, we know what we're getting here. The fade here is really simple, man. I mean, I know that he's coming off losses versus Jury, Miller, Lozon, and Tuck. And, obviously Maestro is not on that level. But, I mean, even in the Polo Reyes fight where, yeah, I understand he got wobbled 100 million times. But, I mean, even in the midst of that, the guy was getting takedowns against Polo Reyes. And Polo Reyes is he's got decent takedown defense. And I mean, while he was completely out on his feet, he got like a couple takedowns. And then, while he was fresh and his chin was, he took that time off and came back against O'Reilly. I mean, those first 2 rounds, bro, I mean, the guy was a straight wrestler in that fight. I mean, he took down O'Reilly, had some he advanced position several times. I think he even got that mount once. And he won the first 2 rounds. I think he lost the 3rd round, but it wasn't like he got wobbled or anything. I think he lost the grappling. But we know Comey ain't going to beat us in no grappling match, man. The fade's simple. I think we can beat him on the feet as well. We rocked Polo Reyes. We hurt Dom still on the feet. Obviously, we don't want him to play around with that, even though I think Gomi's hands are completely done. And another thing to mention, man, I feel like Gomi's hoorah was in that Jim Miller fight because, that fight was UFC 200, Las Vegas. And the guy went out to Vegas, trained in Las Vegas for like a month and a half prior to the fight. I felt like he gave his all in that fight. And we saw what happened. He got pounded out in less than 2 minutes, and I feel like that was his final hurrah. he was actually in shape for that fight. And then he comes in against Tuck, and I mean, he's got green hair now, or whatever color that is, and he has no abs. He actually had a Jim Miller fight, and I just think it's over for this guy. It's funny because his birthday is on fight day, and I feel like he's gonna get a not so good birthday present from the Maestro. But I'm closing out that 5-unit parlay with Luke Jumo with Maestro Kim. I got it at minus 270, and I feel like he's going to take care of business, man.
It's funny you say that it's not going to be a good birthday gift, but let me tell you this. Let me play devil's advocate for a second here. So, Takanori Gomi, let's see. He's getting $55K to show, my man. So, hey, $55K to take a quick knee? That ain't too bad for your birthday, right?
Actually, it is. It is a good birthday present. I'm sure he's getting some decent Reebok money as well.
Yeah, so,
So
55 plus, how much is he getting Reebok? Probably 10, so, 65, and, I don't even know what the taxes are because he's in Japan and shit, so, what, 65K to take a quick knee? That ain't too bad.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. So, actually, I take that back. It's a decent birthday present.
Imagine if you somehow pulled this off and got, got an 110K check for this, which ain't gonna happen, but you know what I'm saying? Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if I don't think it's gonna happen, but if it did, at least we get one more chance to fade him again.
This is very true. We're thinking long term, my man. But the play here is obviously the Maestro, and I think he's gonna take care of biz. Now here we go. Co-main event of the evening. Claudia Gadelha. She's minus 280. The comeback on Jessica Andrade is plus 240. Now Shaq, I will tell you this straight up. I am 100% out of the Jessica Andrade business. And it's not because she lost the fight to Joanna. There's nothing wrong with losing to the greatest female fighter of all time. It's more like the way she lost. You know what I'm saying? At least Claudia Gadelha, she gassed out in the third round or whatever, but at least she gave it her all the first 2 rounds, right? Like, she went out there, she dropped Joanna, she took her down, she gave it her all. With Jessica, she kind of stared at her for 5 rounds straight and got her ass whooped, and I was like, yeah, I'm not in the Andrade business no more.
Yeah, I bet that fight as well, and it was unfortunate because I actually thought she was going to win that fight heading in because, those 115-pound chicks couldn't handle the pressure, but, maybe we should have looked more into the opponents who she was fighting. I mean, when you're fighting JoJo, Panay, and Angela Hill, and Angela Hill, I think that was a good win because, I think Hill's very underrated, but, yeah, the way she lost, and I think it's pretty clear that, Claudia Gadelha is easily, the second best at 115 pounds. I mean, she won those first 2 rounds against Joanna, and then we bet Joanna in that fight, and I think it was like minus 120, but I think at some other point in the 3rd or 4th round, she ended up dropping Joanna with an elbow or something like that, man. So, that just shows you what type of level this girl's on, and then she goes in there against Carolina, and one doesn't simply sub Carolina in less than 3 minutes, man. And, that just shows you what type of stuff she's on, bro. And I think she's going to get the job done here. I feel like, Andrade might have a little blitz early or something, but I'm actually predicting that she's not the same since that Joanna fight. I think in the 2nd, 3rd rounds, Claudia is going to get takedowns and just win a nice little 30-27 on 2 cards at 29-28. And, I hope... it's unfortunate because I really wanted Claudia to fight Rose. That would be a max bet Claudia in a 3-round fight. But, props to Rose for getting that title fight. And but the pick is Claudia here. I would not bet Andrade because even if she wants to stand in the pocket with Claudia, let's not forget that Claudia can bang as well. The chick, it's not a question that she might even hit, as hard as Andrade. So, I pass on it, but the pick is Claudia.
I got a lot of respect for Claudia Gadelha. I really like what she did. She left Novo and some people are loyal to a fault. Like, you look at a guy like Jose Aldo, he'll never leave Novo and and it is what it is. You can respect that or whatever. But with Claudia, she lost to Joanna twice, and she said, "Look, I gotta do something different." How does the saying go? You can't. I gotta think about this for a second. What's the fucking quote about,
she was like, it's like you can't get the same results I forgot what she said, but
You know what I'm talking about, though.
yeah,
I gotta find this fucking quote, but it's something about you can't do the same things and
and
expect
get the
different results. You know
yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
saying? And so she did something different. She left Brazil. She left Novo União. Now she's in Albuquerque, and she's not. She made it very clear. She's not part of Team Greg Jackson. She's part of Team Claudia. She's got her own coaches. She's got her own people training her. And I mean, that's what world champions do, man. They build their camps around themselves. And in this fight, I think the blast double is going to be a very big weapon in this fight. I think she's going to take down Jessica Andrade. Look, if they stand and bang, Andrade hits like a little truck, especially at that weight class. A lot of those chicks have never been hit like that before. So, there's always the chance. You stand and bang with Andrade, she can overwhelm you. But I'm really thinking the blast double is going to be huge here. I think the timing, the entries, I think Claudia's going to be able to grind this one out. Potentially get a submission too, but most likely a decision. But do not be surprised if she chokes her out. Now here we go, man. The main event of the evening. Ovince St. Preux. He's minus 550. The comeback on Yushin Okami is plus 425. Now originally it was supposed to be a Shogun, Mauricio Shogun, you know what I'm saying? But now he pulled out week of the fight, and Yushin Okami is stepping up. Now, like we previously mentioned earlier on the show, Okami is going from 170 pounds to 205 pounds. Now, this is a guy that would have never made 170 pounds back in his prime. You know what I'm saying? He had a little bit of help, if you know what I mean. But certain things changed in the sport, and now he's able to make 170. So now he's going back up to 205, fighting one of the bigger 205 pounders on the roster. And I think that OSP is going to go out there, knock him out in the first round, kind of like he did to Patrick Cummins. Hey, look, if we get a Von Flue choke, the third Von Flue choke he's ever had in the UFC, that'd be incredible too. But I think we knock him out with a big shot, like we did to Pat Cummins. If we get taken out once or twice, which I highly doubt, because the size difference is just, it's so apparent, man. I mean, on fight day, we're going to be talking about what OSP is going to be like 220 and Yushin's going to be what, 205? You know what I'm saying, man? So I think that this is a fight where OSP gets a showcase. I think he gets a first round finish. I took the under 1.5 at plus 160. I put 1.5 units on it. And let's go, Vince.
Yeah, I mean, fight's pretty much plain and simple. Okami's been fighting at welterweight, like you said. And now, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not high on OSP or anything. I mean, I've lost on the guy big one time against Glover Teixeira, and in the way he lost was just completely embarrassing. And, when he fights guys like Volkan Ozdemir or Bader or, guys that can wrestle. And Okami can wrestle, but his wrestling's not good enough to get OSP down, in my opinion. I think OSP comes out here, touches him up early, gets him out, but it's not like I'm high on OSP or anything. I just feel like if you're going to play the under, this is the spot where you're going to play the under. And you guys already know how I feel about unders and props in general, man. I mean, I've learned my lesson so many times on it, but if I were to ever play one, it'd be this one.
Yes, sir. So, hopefully Ovince takes care of business. I think he will, man. He's been actually training here in Atlanta with Manu, and people who don't know who Manu is, he's a Muay Thai legend. This is a guy I've seen in person. He's beat up UFC fighters in front of my face. I mean, this is a guy that's 5'9". I've seen him whoop on UFC 205ers right before my eyes. Manu's legit. That's who OSP's been putting in work with. I heard he had one of the best training camps of his life. I know people say that about every fight, but I didn't hear it from OSP. I heard it from people in his camp that he's firing on all cylinders right now. He's got Derek Brunson with him. I think he's going to come in here prepared, man. He wasn't thrown off at all by the opponent switch. With some people, you get that opponent switch and it's a letdown spot. You don't get up for the fight as much. For OSP, man, considering that he did lose 3 in a row and then he just beat De Lima, he wants to get back on a streak, man. He's motivated for this fight, and the opponent change didn't affect him at all because he already has a knockout win over Shogun. And it was in less than a minute anyway, so now he's going to get another knockout over Yushin Okami. So I'm very excited about this. And I want to point out something about OSP. I actually thought he made an improvement in the De Lima fight. Now, I completely understand De Lima is a step down from Volkan, Jimmy Manua, John Jones. This is 100% true. But hear me out on this real quick. His footwork was so much better in that De Lima fight. You watch that fight with Ozdemir or Manua, and he's kind of stationary. He's kind of flat-footed. He's kind of backing himself up against the fence, which he is known for. But in that De Lima fight, I saw a new guy there, man. Like, the footwork, like I've been saying, man, he was so mobile. He looked so athletic. Everything was on point that night. And I think if that guy shows up here, it's going to be a short night for Thunder Okami. So, yeah, I got the under 1.5 units at plus 160, and let's get it, man. So now We got to call the best DraftKings player in the history of MMA, Mr. Kyle Marley, for the Big Marley Minute. Here we go. And joining us now on the Big Marley Minute is the best DraftKings player in MMA history. I'm talking about Kyle Marley. Kyle, what's going on, bro?
Hey, man, you're too kind. You're too kind. I'm good, though, man. How are you?
Hey, I only speak the truth, my man. But listen, let's get right down to business because we got a massive opportunity this weekend. Now, I don't want to give away all our secrets and this and that, but look, we look for finishers on DraftKings. We look for first-round finishes on DraftKings. Takanori Gomi is fighting this weekend. You know the deal. Last 4 fights haven't even gone past the 3-minute mark of the first round. And he's coming in for a nice paycheck on his birthday. He's going to get $55K to show, $55K to take a knee. Maestro Kim's probably going to put him away in one. I'm assuming we're putting him on our lineups. Well, what kind of price are we going to have to pay here?
$9,100 on DraftKings compared to Gomi's $7,100. But, yeah, I like that price. He is let me check real quick. He's the third highest on DraftKings. He's below OSP and Formiga. So I think he's probably my favorite player on the board. I don't see why you wouldn't fade Gomi at the point unless he comes in looking shredded like he's on the juice. But I don't see that happening. I think this is Kim's fight to win. And he'll probably be on most, if not all, of my lineups.
Yeah, he ain't coming in on no juice. You know what I'm saying? If there's any kind of liquid he's coming in on, it's the tequila. You know what I'm saying, bro? So I ain't too worried. I ain't too worried about that. Now, speaking of another first round finish, and I know this one's gonna be hefty too, but Ovint St. Preux. It's not often that you can trust a guy like OSP, but let me tell you something. He's fighting a welterweight here who is also suffering from the new testing, hence the reason that he's fought at welterweight his last 5 fights, because this is a guy that when he was in his prime at 185 pounds, Yushin Okami is one of the biggest middleweights on planet Earth. But now, like I mentioned, the reason he can make 170 is the reason that you know already. I personally think Ovint is going to take him out in one. I played the under 1.5. But once again, man, what kind of price are we looking at on DraftKings?
See, that's your biggest favorite on DraftKings. He's $9,500. So I'm thinking he has to 10x that value and get at least 95 points to be on winning lineups. And I'm not positive he's going to do that. So I'm kind of weary if I'm going to put him on my lineups or not. I've made a few with him. I've made a few without him, just trying to see what works. But I don't think it's a bad play at all. I do think he's probably the easiest win on the card. It's just, can he pay off that price tag? I'm not sure he can. But I don't like Okami. I don't think I'm going to have much, if any, of him.
That's interesting. When you say pay off that price tag, how many points do you expect for it to be worth it?
I always like to look at 10x. So if it's 9,000, I want him getting at least 90 points. If it's like Cyborg and they price her at 10,000, I need her getting at least 100 points. So he's 9,500 in this. I need him to at least get 95 points to match value to me. 10x, that's what I always look at, no matter what their value is. If they're the dog or the favorite, give me 10x, and I think I'm looking good.
Now, there's one more big favorite I like, and that's Luke Jumo. I know he's only had 1 fight in the UFC, but I'll tell you what, man. He went up there against a pretty damn good wrestler. He stuffed most of his takedowns, and he whooped on him on the feet. And this guy he's fighting now, Shinsho Anzai, he hasn't fought in 2 years, and the last time he did fight, I mean, the way he won, he punched the dude's finger and the dude quit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not impressed with Shinsho at all. I think Luke's about to put on a show, but we're looking at an $8,900 price tag. Are you putting him in your lineup?
No, I don't see how he's going to be making my lineups. If in order for him to 10x his value, he's probably going to have to get a first-round finish. His last fight went to decision, and he only scored 50 points. And I believe 30 of that's coming from just the win. So he's just not putting enough pressure on his opponent to score enough points to match that $8,900 value price tag. But I'm not really liking his opponent too much either. I think I would rather have him. But I'm more looking to avoid this fight and look somewhere else that's going to be higher scoring.
All right, well, we got to talk about some underdogs because you can't just fill your lineup with favorites. And let me tell you about this guy, Keitaro Nakamura, man, because he's the perennial underdog. You know what I'm saying? You remember that fight with Li Jingliang? He's plus 600, and he went out there, choked him unconscious. The fight with Tom Breeze, even though he didn't win that fight, Tom Breeze was minus 1,000, and you can make an argument that Keitaro won that fight, man. Keitaro is as tough as they come. He will fight for your money. Is he one of your underdogs?
Yeah, I like that play. Like you said, you do have to find some underdogs, and that's one I'm looking at. If he's going to win this fight, he's probably going to have to get it to the ground and get some takedowns along the way, and that's what I like to see in DraftKings. So I think that's a great play. I don't think I'll have any Morono, to tell you the truth, so that's where I would be leaning in that fight for sure.
So I have a feeling that the most owned underdog on this entire card is going to be Ulka Sasaki, just because in his last fight, people don't really remember what actually went down in the last fight. All they remember is him tapping out Scoggins. So when you look at that on Wikipedia, you look at the resume, it's like, wow, he's got a submission win over Scoggins. Maybe he's turning things around. But then you go back, you watch that fight. He got dropped 3 times. He got taken down 1,000,000 times. He gets his back taken a bunch, which is Formiga's specialty is taking the back. So I'm personally not playing Sasaki. A dog I am looking at is Mizuto Hirota. That being said, man, am I off here? Am I thinking the right way? What do you think?
No, it's probably. I think you're completely right. I think Sasaki will be higher on, so it might be a good idea to fade him and go up to Hirota. And you might get some takedowns with Hirota, but I don't really see that happening with Sasaki. You don't want to mess with Formiga on the ground. So he's probably going to have to win this fight by just point fighting, hitting and moving, and that doesn't rack up very many DraftKings points. So I think you're on the right track. That's another good dog to look at.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to be playing Teruto Ishihara. Now, last time, Kyle, I got to give you credit, man. You picked Gray Maynard in 2017 to win a fight. Now, I was so wrong. Look, it's one thing to be wrong on a fight and to lose, whatever. You take the L, no big deal. But when my guy can't even land a single punch on Gray Maynard in 2017, not only do I want nothing to do with him here, I don't want nothing to do with him ever again. So that being said, are we taking Rolando Dye here, man? I mean, it's his second UFC appearance. You know that these guys that lose their debuts, sometimes, I think there's a stat that over 50% of the time, they come back and win their sophomore appearances.
Yeah, I don't hate that play. I'm not an Ishihara fan. I think he's always been overrated. However, I don't think he's a terrible play in GPPs this week because Dye's not as good of a wrestler as Maynard. He's not going to get him down 10-plus times. So this will be on the feet a lot, and Ishihara could knock him out. And that's what you want in GPPs. However, like you said, you can't trust this guy, so I'm not putting him in cash lineups, that's for sure. I would rather have Dye in a cash lineup just to hopefully come through as the underdog. But I might avoid this fight as well. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. I could see if you're making 3 lineups, maybe throw Ishihara in one, Dye in one, and then leave the other one without that fight.
So the chick fight, Gadelia versus Andrade. Now, Gadelia is very expensive in this spot, but Kyle, I truly believe that she is the second best female fighter on planet Earth. I just think that if Joanna wasn't around, Claudia would be the champ right now. You watch her fight with Joanna, the second one, and she dropped her with an elbow. She took her down more than once. And with Andrade, I mean, she was frozen from the second the fight started. That being said, this is a different matchup. I completely understand that. But I really do think that Claudia Gadelia's blast double will be a big weapon in this fight. We know takedown scored a lot of points, but she's $9,000 on the price tag. And if we're trying to put someone like Kim, maybe even OSP in our lineups, we probably can't afford Claudia Gadelia. So are you passing on this one, man?
No, I definitely will not be passing. I will have one of these two in my lineups. But I don't think either one's really a bad play. I think at $7,200, Andrade, if she's going to win, she's for sure paying off that price tag. This is going to be a high-paced fight, so I think it will rack up a lot of points. I honestly don't hate stacking this fight in cash games because I think you could probably get, 110 to 120 points combined. I'm just not positive that Gadella is going to be the winner. So I don't know if I want to spend the $9,000 when I can just spend $100 more and get Kim right above her. So if I can get them both on the same team, I don't mind that play, but I just don't know how you're going to get them along with OSP in your lineup. So I don't know. I think a good dog play could be Andrade here because she even scores high in losses. I think she's going to put up a lot of strikes in this. She's going to try and keep standing. And if she can get the knockout, that's going to score a lot of points. And she's only got to pay off a $7,200 price tag. So I don't think that'll be too difficult if she can get the win. However, Gadella, man, that's what you want is the takedown. So if she wins, she's scoring pretty highly as well. Just will she score as much as Kim or OSP or Formiga? I'm not exactly sure.
So this one is a total coin flip. We got Gokhan Saki, the kickboxer. He's making his UFC debut. He's 0-1 in MMA, but he's taking on Henrique de Silva, who got viciously knocked out about 3 months ago. But here's my thing, man. If Henrique de Silva tries to come out here and test his stand-up, I mean, he's going to get knocked into the fifth row, but he could pull guard, sweep, and submit. I mean, I've seen clips of chicks tapping out Gokhan Saki in the gym, but I can't trust Henrique's fight IQ, and he does strike me as the kind of guy that'll try to test his stand-up against someone like Gokhan Saki. So the winner of this fight is going to score a lot of points. We know that much, Kyle.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why I think the perfect GPP play. Whoever you like, put them in your lineup. GPP only. Cash games, I wouldn't do it just because you can't trust either guy. You don't know what's going to happen in this fight. But like you said, it will score highly. So in GPPs, whoever wins will have enough points to win you a tournament. So even if you don't like picking this fight in your tournament games, which I can see because I hate picking either one of these guys as well, it's just going to score high enough where you're going to have the winner of this fight. I think you got to decide. I would lean towards – ooh, man, it's tough. I would rather go Frankenstein and save the money and just hope he's not going to be dumb and stand with him. Try and get it to the ground, pound him out there, get some advances. I don't know, rack up the points on the ground. But don't stand with this guy and get knocked out real easy.
Just pull guard and sweep, man. Come on. That's all you got to do.
Just get it to the ground. That guy will be lost.
So this fight right here is another 50-50 one because we got Hyung-Yu Lim and he's taking on the newcomer Daichi Abe. And look, man, we know with Lim, it's either knockout or get knocked out. And with Daichi Abe, I know he's a little bit smaller for the weight class. He's making his UFC debut, but I'll tell you what, Kyle, this kid throws bombs. I have a feeling someone's going to sleep in this fight. I'm not sure who. Are you leaning a certain way?
No, this is exactly like the last fight to me. I think you have to target this one again because it will be high scoring. And both of those fights are mid-range, so you can get them both in your lineups. If you're making multiple lineups, you can kind of play around, get multiple of those four fighters. I think I would rather get A again and save the money. But I don't hate like an A play and then pair him up with Gokhan Saki, something like that, or the other way around, Lim and Frankenstein. I do think you have to pair those two fights, though. That's the key. I think you got to stack those, find a winner in each one, and if you can hit them both, you're going to be looking pretty.
Kyle, man, we always appreciate the priceless advice, my man. And I'll tell you what, my DraftKings game has slowly but surely been improving, man. I haven't quite won a tournament yet, but I am working my way up the ranks. You got to hit that top 15, then the top 10, then the top 5, then I get my title shot. I'm doing what it takes, man. I appreciate the help. Everybody follow this man at Big Marley 3. Kyle, anything you want to tell the fans before we speak next week?
That's it, man. Good luck this weekend.
And that's why Kyle Marley is in the position he's in. Sharp week after sharp week, and we hope our lineups deliver this week as well. Now, Shaq, we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So, Shaq, what is the fight to watch for UFC Japan?
That fight to watch is going to be Morono and Keitaro, man. I want to see if Keitaro can pull off another upset at dog money. And, if he wins this fight, you got to put him up there in your top 25 at welterweight. The guy just keeps defying the odds. And if Morono wins, this will be another credible win on his part because Keitaro's the type of guy, like we said, the guy's going to be in every fight that he's in. He's never going to get dominated. And this will be a solid win for him if he can win.
Oh, yeah. Anytime Keitaro is involved in a fight, it's guaranteed war. But you put Alex Morono in there with him, and this definitely has the potential to be fight of the night. For me personally, I'm going to go with Juicy Formiga versus Sasaki. Look, I know on paper and by the way that we described it, it could be a one-sided fight. That being said, the way Sasaki's been looking since he dropped the flyweight, this is a huge opportunity, man. He's 5'9", he's massive for the weight class, and if he can go out here and defeat a guy like Formiga, he might take that number 3 spot in the world. So this is a massive fight at 125 pounds, and for Formiga, if he wins this fight, he gets to keep his spot as the number 3 guy on planet Earth. Now, Shaq, who is the fighter to watch for UFC Japan?
Yeah, I like what you said about Sasaki. I like what he's been doing. He's moved to the States. He's taking it seriously. But my fighter to watch is going to be Luke Jumo, man. I feel like, that side of the world needs more guys, especially at welterweight. And, maybe he can be a little mainstay for New Zealand or Australia or wherever he's from. But I feel like if he wins this fight, he can, fight maybe like a Hot Chocolate or somebody on that level, man. If he wins impressively.
Just not Perry.
Yeah. Let's not get carried away.
And my fighter to watch is Maestro Dong Young Kim. Look, man, this is one of those fights, and I really hope I'm not wrong about this, right? But look, this is one of those fights where you have all your friends over, and one of your friends puts down $100 on this fight ending in under 1 minute. One of your friends puts down $200 on it ending in under 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? You guys, we're all trying to decide how quickly is he going to end this. Is it going to be 30 seconds, a minute, 3 minutes? I personally don't think it's going to go past the 3-minute mark of the first round. But, I've been wrong before, Shaq. Maybe once or twice, right? No, but listen, man. I think it's not going to go past the 3-minute mark of the first round. We'll see what actually happens. But, look, if Maestro goes out here and gets this win, I know that Gomi is so far gone that it shouldn't even matter. But it's one of those situations where you look at someone's resume and you see a win and you see the name Takanori Gomi. It doesn't matter if Gomi's lost 10 in a row. You still see that name. It elevates your career. It means something. John Tuck's career just got elevated because he beat Gomi. You know what I'm saying? People look at him in a completely different light now just because he went out there and demolished Gomi. And I think it's going to be the same story for Maestro Kim here. So for that reason, he is your fighter to watch. Now, Shaq, we did it, man. It's going down this Friday. I know we're not going to be able to catch every fight live. We got NFC 99 going down at center stage. I'm very excited for that. The weigh-ins are at the Braves game Thursday. But, man, how pumped are you to, you know what I'm saying, be checking on your phone if you cash this max bet?
Yeah, man, I'm super pumped up. And not to mention on Saturday, man, we got Bellator. We got a little Benson Henderson fade going on, Patricky Pitbull. And we got, Roy Nelson making his debut against Javi that knocked out Sergey. And we got this kid Piccolotti versus Goitze. So I'm looking forward to that card as well. And I'm looking at cash, man. I should be posting some stuff up later on my website, thesportmatrix.com. It's actually already up. I just haven't tweeted it out yet. But I'm looking to just get more consistent, man. Last week, I'm glad I only lost 2 because, there was a lot of things I was a little sketchy on. But now it's just about getting more consistent, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'm glad you brought up Bellator. The lines aren't even out yet, so I don't know how much we can reveal because I know these jobbers listen to our podcast. But the Benson Henderson fade is real. That's all I got to say, man. You know what I'm saying? And then this kid Piccolotti you mentioned, and maybe even the jobber that's fighting Roy Nelson. We'll be taking a look. We'll see what the numbers say. And I'm very excited about that. All the fans, make sure you follow Shaq at MMA Genius 05. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. Go to bestfightpicks.com for the plays. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Follow Kyle Marley at Big Marley 3. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.